Indiana Fever many fans is still poking fingers at head coach Stephanie White for actually making the game not entertaining anymore, bro. This motion offense has to be addressed, and Stephanie White has to be held accountable because it's truly the offense that she's running, and it is not for Caitlin Clark at this point. Now, both Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White spoke to the media immediately after.
What really happened behind the scenes? Caitlin Clark just dropped a brutally honest bombshell about her health. And she didn't hold back on Stephanie White either. Was it shade? Was it true? Was it both? Wrapped in a jump shot and served cold? You'll have to see it to believe it, because this isn't your average press conference. Nope, this is Caitlin uncensored. And let's just say jaws are on the floor. Grab popcorn. It's that kind of video.
I thought at times we could have played a little bit faster, and I think that's on me, like not conceding in that. We still got to play up tempo. We still got to play fast. But I mean, I thought for the most part we did a lot of stuff that coach wanted us to do, and that wasn't why we lost.
I can't hold you, man. That kind of looked like she let that slip out, man. I don't know. But I mean, we all see it. When they play slow, it's just not a good team, man. They're not as good as we see that they could be, right? So they need to play fast, man. I think, they don't necessarily look that good when they're playing half-court ball. Maybe taking something from the Valkyries, man. The Valkyries run, all right? They be running.
She looks exhausted, not tired, spiritually dehydrated. Caitlin Clark is running on fumes, caffeine, and sheer willpower, while the WNBA throws every possible roadblock at her, like it's some twisted version of American Ninja Warrior, but with worse referees and even worse coaching. Forget the hardwood. This woman's navigating landmines.
The league needs to take care of Caitlin, not for special treatment purposes, but that's who everybody's there to see. Everybody wants to see Caitlin Clark play. And if you let other teams and other people beat the shit out of her, she's going to spend 2 weeks out injured. And your attendance is going to drop because people aren't going to get the chance to see her. And if you actually want to be paid the same as the NBA players, obviously not by actual dollar for dollar, but for revenue percentage, you need to protect her. You need her to be playing at her best and not be having the
While she's been the poster girl for hope, growth, and ticket sales, she's also become the favorite shoe toy of referees, who must have mistaken her for a tackling dummy. It's not just missed calls anymore. It's a full-blown experimental science project where referees test how many illegal screens and shoulder bumps one player can take before turning into emotional jelly.
Las Vegas Aces defeated the Indiana Fever 89-81. And this game was disappointing for many fans, not only for the fact that it seemed like the Fever had this one in the bag, but they kind of gave it away at the end of the game, but also because it seemed like there was something off with this Fever team. They didn't have the same energy and spark that we all know and love. So many fans are asking, what is going?
And it's not a pretty sight. The whistles have turned into wind instruments that only play when she's the one doing something. And suddenly, the rule book feels like a choose-your-own-adventure novel authored by chaos. If someone sneezes on her, it's play on. But if she breathes near someone, that's a flagrant 2 and a 5-game suspension.
I have figured out the solution to the Indiana Fever's problems. Hear me out, hear me out, hear me out. This is what we got to do. We got to put Caitlin Clark off ball. We need to run a motion offense. So when the defense takes away what Caitlin Clark does best, we have other players that can still perform. So when she does have bad games, we're not completely dead in the water. I think that is the best way to move forward with this Indiana Fever team.
Physicality is criminal, not metaphorically, legitimately suspicious. There are muggings with less contact. At this point, we might need to check if some of these defenders have brass knuckles taped under their wristbands. And what's the league response? Crickets. Or worse, passive-aggressive Instagram posts that pretend everything's fine while their brightest star gets body slammed into irrelevance. And don't even get started on Indiana. Emotionally draining doesn't begin to cover it. The vibes are off. The air is heavy. The locker room energy feels like a haunted group therapy session sponsored by Broken Dreams and Gatorade. It's like Caitlin walked into a franchise built entirely out of IKEA furniture, fragile, unstable, and just confusing to assemble. You'd think Indiana would roll out the red carpet for a generational talent. Nope. They handed her a paper towel and pointed her toward a leaky faucet. She's trying to play 4D chess while her teammates are busy playing hungry hippos. The offense? Undefined. The defense? Non-existent. And somehow, Stephanie White is on the sidelines drawing up plays like she's playing Pictionary with invisible ink. There's no system, no direction, just vibes, and not the good kind.
First talk about Caitlin Clark. So she struggled once again in this game. She was 7 for 20 from the field and 1 for 10 from 3, which puts her at 1 for 17 over the past few games. And if you're a fan of Caitlin Clark, you know that this is so unlike her. She is arguably the best shooter in the WNBA, and she is having a significant cold streak over the past 2 games. But her missing shots isn't actually what bothers me. The thing that bothered me most in the game yesterday was the one shot that she passed up. Now, she had been missing a few shots, and if you guys were on my live stream, I said the thing that she needs to do is to continue shooting. Shooters shoot. The only way to break a cold streak is to continue shooting.
Every time Clark turns to the bench, it's like looking into the void. Stephanie White stands there, gesturing like she's ordering coffee in a loud drive-thru, while the game slips further into chaos. It's not coaching, it's interpretive dance. One moment she wants fast pace, the next she's screaming about patience, and the players are caught in a full-speed existential crisis, trying to decipher which version of the plan they're following, if there is one, and it's starting to show. Clark's game, once crisp and electric, now looks like it's buffering. Her passes are a little late, her confidence a little shaken. She's hesitating where she once attacked with reckless genius, and honestly, who wouldn't? Imagine trying to execute elite-level basketball while constantly checking your back for flying elbows and your bench for signs of sentient life. At this rate, Caitlin's going to need a sabbatical, or an exorcist, or maybe both, because what's being done to her isn't just bad basketball, it's psychological warfare. This league is supposed to protect and elevate its stars, not grind them down into dusty highlight reels and regret. And yet, here she is, slowly being drained by a league that begged for her brilliance but forgot how to nurture it.
Wait, what'd you say? Wait, what? Did you just tell me that Stephanie White went on an interview tour this whole entire offseason saying exactly that? Did you just tell me Stephanie White went on an interview? So how come when Caitlin Clark has a bad game, this team looks like absolute dog shit? How come when Caitlin Clark isn't busy backpacking this team, it looks like absolute dog shit, coach? Just a question. Just a question. What we saw today, folks, I feel bad for everybody that had to sit through that. Everybody that wasted 2 hours and 25 minutes watching the Indiana Fever versus the Las Vegas Aces. I feel bad that we had to sit through that. That was a tough watch.
And the kicker? She hasn't even hit her sophomore stride yet. This is supposed to be the glow-up season, the big leap, the I know what I'm doing now phase. Instead, she's trying to survive the Hunger Games with a water pistol and a set of mismatched teammates. And while the fan base is screaming for help, league officials are out here playing Sudoku with the rules. It's almost poetic, in a tragic Shakespearean way. A generational talent stuck in a remake of Groundhog Day, where every game is just a remix of disappointment and bruised ribs. And through it all, Stephanie White continues to smirk her way through press conferences like she's unlocked a master plan that only exists in a parallel dimension. Get out before she starts second-guessing the very instincts that made her unstoppable, before she trades her fire for fatigue, before she wakes up and realizes she's not leading a revolution. She's trapped in a dumpster fire with a hoop nailed to the side.
Well, I think you have to look at things a little bit holistically. I think Caitlin Clark is a really hard player to officiate, much like Diana Taurasi was throughout the course of her career, for a couple of reasons. Caitlin Clark regularly gets picked up in the full court. She also gets blitzed more over the course of her career than any player in WNBA history or in that period of time. And she also creates some contact herself on the offensive end of the floor. She is very difficult to officiate because of all of the contact that's happening around her.
She needs an escape plan, a parachute, maybe even a time machine. Because the longer she stays in this emotional blender, the harder it's going to be to recover. And no, this isn't just about losing games. This is about losing her identity as a player. While the league sits back and lets it happen, it's baffling. They rolled out every camera and sponsorship deal the second she went pro. And now they're letting her fade behind post entries and aimless dribble handles. She's not just any player. She's the player. the reason people are tuning in. And yet they're managing her like she's a spare part in a 20-year-old team rebuilt with a broken GPS. Meanwhile, Stephanie White is busy treating lineups like a Pinterest board, endlessly experimenting with rotations that make zero sense. Like, sure, let's take Caitlin off the ball for 80% of the game. That'll definitely fix things. If no one's going to save her, she needs to save herself. Because this is a kind of environment that doesn't just mess with your stats, it messes with your soul. And honestly, she deserves better. The fans deserve better. The game deserves better.
Well, I be damned. I be damned. 7 for 20 from the field, 1 for 10 from the three-point line. And look at those turnovers, 8 turnovers. She leads the league in turnovers. But guess what? Her Clarkies are only going to be impressed, and they're going to brag about the 19 points and 10 assists. Me personally, I'm all about efficiency. I'm concerned about those last 3, them turnovers, which she leads the league in turnovers. She is shooting horrible from the field. And as far as them three-pointers, in the last 2 games, she's only made 1 three-pointer, and that's the one against the Aces.
So, unless Indiana finds a spine, a new game plan, and a coach who can tell the difference between motion offense and chaotic flailing, Caitlin Clark better start packing her bags. Because if she sticks around much longer, we're not watching a superstar rise. We're watching a legend get buried under apathy, bad whistles, and Stephanie White's magical mystery tour of tactical confusion. Meanwhile, she's on the court, but she's not running the show. Not even close. Caitlin Clark looks like she's trapped in some dystopian stage play, where she's a lead but never allowed to speak. Her movements are there. Her talent is intact. But the authority, the leadership, that spark of command that once made her the absolute gravitational center of the basketball universe, it's being dimmed, smothered, not just sidelined, erased. Caitlin Clark isn't being developed. She's being deconstructed. Pulled apart piece by piece like a car being scrapped for parts in some back alley garage. And everyone's acting like it's business as usual, like it's just part of the rookie experience. As if being gaslit into irrelevance is a character-building exercise. Spoiler alert, it's not. It's a slow, brutal, soul-sucking drain, wrapped in a glossy WNBA logo.
That the Indiana Fever were trying to be that team that runs you off the floor, that hustles. I felt like they were the deepest team. Like, looking at the roster, man, they actually have some players that could run the floor. And I'm just like, dang, bro, it's really crazy to see that they're not really trying to run the floor like I would expect them to. And also using Michaela Timpson. Like, that is some young pair of legs, man. You should be using Michaela Timpson to help you run the floor, play lockdown defense, hustle defense, you know, winning the 50-50 balls. You need young legs to do that, man.
And yes, she's still standing. She's still showing up. But at what cost? Every game is a new layer of bruises. Physical, mental, reputational. She's surviving on fumes and fury, and the toll is visible. The smile's tighter, the body language stiffer, the fire flickering under a pile of nonsense. And the worst part? It's not an accident. It's intentional erosion. Let's not pretend this is just about one team. This is systemic. It's the entire league letting the mob loose on her, then shrugging like it's all just part of culture. Competitors aren't just offending. They're attacking like it's personal. And if you thought that was as dark as it gets, enter Jenna Rima. Because apparently, we needed that little side swipe to round out the madness. A man who could have offered wisdom or solidarity decided instead to go full demolition mode. Without warning, without context, just a condescending wrecking ball of unwarranted shade aimed straight at 22-year-old navigating the biggest circus in sports right now. Like she needed more reasons to question everything. It wasn't critique. It was character defamation with varsity credentials. The kind of dismissive nonsense that stings 10 times more coming from someone who should know better. That was no coach's insight. That was sabotage. Loud, unnecessary, and deeply unhelpful. It didn't clarify anything. Just added another layer of bitterness to an already toxic soup.
All right, but this is a regular season game. There's no player that's going to be that depressed about a loss. The emotion that she's having right now, that's emotion that you have when you lose a championship. But they didn't lose a championship. So it's only one other thing. It's the coach. I knew something was up, y'all. I played basketball all my life. I played point guard. There was something off about Miss Caitlin when I was watching that Aces game. And I couldn't put my finger on it. It just seemed like Miss Caitlin, she was definitely unmotivated. She looked defeated the whole game. She didn't look like she was having fun. And that is always because of the coach. Always.
And let's talk about the hate from other players. Because holy hell, this is a masterclass of professional jealousy turned blood sport. They're not just competing with her. They're actively trying to humiliate her, pushing her, elbowing her, jawing at her like it's open mic night for every petty grudge in the league. The fouls aren't sneaky anymore. They're practically part of the choreography. And somehow, that's the energy being allowed to thrive. No one's stepping in. No one's pulling the emergency brake. They're too busy raking in the ratings while the golden goose gets pecked to death. It's a house of horrors every single day. A toxic feedback loop that keeps rewarding the chaos while dismantling everything Caitlin stands for. Grace, precision, leadership, elevation. They don't want her to shine. They want her to survive barely. They want her to conform, shrink, and second-guess every move. It's not about competition. It's about control. It's not just infuriating. It's sickening, physically nauseating. Like watching a masterpiece get spray-painted with insults in slow motion while everyone claps. And if you think that's dramatic, ask yourself, why is the league's biggest draw also its most targeted punching bag? This isn't coincidence. This is intentional sabotage.
The reason any professional athlete or any ball player is not having fun on the field, because this is the game they love. They've been loving this since they was a kid. Because the only reason a player is not having a good time playing the game that they love is because the coach is trying to put shackles on them, trying to control them too much. With a player like Caitlin, you gotta let them loose. This is something that Steve Kerr had to realize when he was dealing with Steph. Steph was shooting all them logo threes. He was shooting all the shots early in the shot clock. Steve Kerr would shake his head. He'd be like, oh, what are you doing? But after a while, he had to let this player do his thing. Bro, that was the first time I ever seen Caitlin Clark walk the ball down the court. And I'm not...
We're talking about a player who brought millions of eyeballs to the league, who sold out arenas, inspired a new generation, turned casual viewers into passionate fans. And instead of protecting that, the WNBA handed her over to a gauntlet of bitterness and let it rip. Because nothing says thanks for saving the franchise like ritual humiliation in prime time. And yet, she plays on, through clenched teeth and bruised pride. She still laces up. It's dragging herself through a league that feels less like a sport and more like a bad reality show. With fouls, the physical attacks are bad enough, but it's the emotional whiplash that does the real damage. Every day she's stuck performing in a theater of absurdity, where the rules change by the hour and the stage crew actively hates her. And through it all, she's expected to be the brand ambassador, the flawless role model, the face of a league that won't even back her when she's being tossed around like a chew toy. This isn't player development. It's public sacrifice. And you can see it in her eyes now. That edge of tired that no amount of rest fixes. That quiet exasperation of someone realizing doing things the right way means nothing when the system is built to punish you for existing.
You know what? I don't think Stephanie White is like a fan of Caitlin's demon time and, you know, her getting all riled up and pumping up the crowd. I don't think she's a fan of that shit. Some coaches, like, they don't like that shit. For example, when Allen Iverson came into the league, him and Larry Brown did not get along because Larry Brown used to tell him to tone it down and not be himself and stuff like that. But I think that's what's going on with this team right now. Because when I was watching that game, man, it just did not feel right. Like, she just looked like she was just so sad about playing. It felt like she was being forced to play a certain type of way.
Caitlin Clark didn't sign up for this horror story. She signed up to play elite basketball and elevate the game. But what she got was a front row seat to a league-wide identity crisis. One that's using her as both scapegoat and punching bag in equal measure. They say adversity builds character. But this is beyond character building. Her struggles are good for TV. Her torment gets clicks. And that's the real horror story. She deserves better. The sport deserves better. And if this league has any interest in survival, it needs to stop treating its brightest light like a fire hazard. Because once Caitlin Clark walks away, and if things stay like this, she absolutely should, it won't just be her leaving. It'll be every fan who came for the magic and stayed for the hope. And when that happens, no amount of damage control or PR fluff will save them. Because the truth will be clear. They didn't just let the star fall. They pushed her every day, every play, Every sneer, every non-call, every eye roll from the bench. They didn't protect her. They erased her. And they'll be left wondering why the lights went out after they snuffed out their own flame.